It
Yeah, me too. Should I stop the sharing maybe and reshare after we
sounds good.
do the introduction maybe? Yeah.
Let's go. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us on a Sunday. We have an awesome open source live stream today. I have an amazing guest, Guillaume. Hopefully, I pronounced your name correctly.
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean,
Okay,
Guillaume, but
awesome.
it's okay.
Okay,
It's
sorry.
complicated. It's French. So
I will
I
keep practicing. Thank you so much for joining me. And we're going to be talking about open source, so being a maintainer, sustainability, and we're going to use Mockoon as an example as well. So please tell us about yourself, and then we'll just get started and jump straight in.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for having me, Eddie. It's awesome. I'm really thrilled to be with you today. Even if it's Sunday, and my wife was like, "Yeah, are you going to work on a Sunday?" And I was like, "Yeah, but it's Eddie, so what can I do? I cannot say no." Um, a very short introduction about me. I will try to keep it really brief. I'm a full stack developer. I was previously a lawyer specialized in intellectual property, and I switched careers in 2015. But I started coding in high school, so it's something that I kept doing during nights and evenings, weekends, all the time. And at one point in 2015, I was doing too much coding every time, all the day, every day. And I switched careers, and probably it was the best choice for me for my life in general, and it's something I really like to do. And after switching careers, I worked in various companies here where I live in Luxembourg, so with a big focus on the banking industry, finance and things like that. And this is a very highly regulated environment. And when working in a bank, I had the idea to create an application because we needed it at work. And when you are a developer, you always want some sort of side project where you can, just put your 3 hours or your free time. And so I switched careers to reclaim my free time, and then I started a side project. So it was a good move and a bad move. Still, it's an awesome journey. And what we needed was to mock APIs. So I don't know if people here are familiar with this technique. The idea is that you don't have access to an API because, for example, it's down or it's not available in a development environment, or maybe it's a paid API. So you just want to prototype quickly. And we couldn't use API mocking in the cloud. So namely, Postman, for example. And I really wanted a side project, so I started working on something. And I will also share my screen. And like that, Mokun was born in 2017. I just checked very briefly before the stream started, and the initial commit is indeed 7 years ago. So it has
Wow.
been already 7 years. Yeah, July 2017. And yeah, 7 years. It's very long, and there are so many changes to this project since the beginning. So I started with something that I didn't do in the past because I had other projects before, and I made some mistake. Everybody could do the first time, like keeping it secret for 2 years and working on it. Like in a submarine, and then suddenly you show it to people, and people say, "What are you doing? That's stupid." And it happened to me in the past. So for Mokun, I choose a different path, and I tried, to build an MVP the quickest way possible. So the MVP was done, I think, in 3 months, something like that. And then I
Awesome.
published on Hacker News, Reddit, etc. And it got a decent amount of about. It wasn't like a revolution, but I think as I was really lucky that people liked it mostly. The feedback was good, and that's where luck played a huge role. And long story short, I kept working on it for 7 years, and I quit my job 2 years and a half ago, early 2021, after a burnout, because I was working on Mokun during my nights and weekends, and it was too much with also a family, 2 kids, etc. very complicated. It's open source, it's awesome. You meet a lot of people, but it's very demanding.
Yeah.
Support requests, features requests, bug reports, and you have to. And then you want it to grow still because you see there is some potential. So you also try to write content, interact with the community, even if I'm like 0.1% of what you are actually doing. It's I'm only tweeting once a week or something like that. But this plus this plus this, it's a huge amount of work. So I switched. No, I didn't switch careers. That was before. I quit my job and I focused full time on Mockoon with also freelancing a bit on the side. And yeah, I can do a small demo if it's okay.
Before we do the demo, I just want
Yes.
to kind of finalize that story. I mean, it's such a great journey. It's great you've been committed to your project for so long. A lot of people, including myself, we jump around like so often across different projects. And just to give a bit of context to everyone where we met and what you've achieved with the project as well. So we knew each other from Twitter before, but we actually really, I think, got chatting in the GitHub Accelerator program where we were invited to the GitHub Slack and we had our weekly calls, and where GitHub, as part of the Accelerator, have 10-week mentorship, but they also give us $20,000 per project. So actually, it'd be interesting to know, if you don't mind me asking, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, what did you spend your GitHub Accelerator money on? Roughly, not
Lamborghini,
Lamborghini, $20,000 Lamborghini, amazing. I want to buy
just
one.
One wheel, just one wheel.
Yeah. One and a half.
No, it's a very good question. If I can just say something before that, it's related to your question about the duration, working on a project during 7 years. And I cannot say it's the most complicated project. It's not the case, but it's still a huge amount of work. And I think what kept me motivated, and there is no magic wand for that, it's all the good signals, the positive signals I get from the project. Every time someone, or nearly every time someone is opening an issue, it's usually prefixed with something like, "Thank you very much for this tool." And all this good feedback, and then you see also the stats growing. And now we very recently crossed 500,000 downloads lifetime.
Wow, amazing.
So 500,000. It's better like that, 500,000. So all these positive signals, kept me motivated. Otherwise, I would have quit earlier than that, because it's a bit complicated. And then getting money from GitHub Accelerator was the cherry on top of the cake, because you can sponsor Mockoon. There is a sponsor page. If I find it again, there is a full explanation,
Nice.
and you can use GitHub sponsors. But it's working a bit, but not that much. It's very complicated to found projects through this way.
Yes.
I think that there is the top,
Of
barrel.
course.
I don't know how to say. They got a lot of funding, and it's awesome. But it's not. I mean, there are not that many projects that get a lot of funding, and most people who are donating after support they get. So it's still a bit complicated. So yeah, GitHub was awesome. It really helped, and I used it mostly to pay myself during this time.
Makes sense.
And to be able to pay the bills, and
Yeah.
freelancing a bit less last year, so I could focus a bit more on Mockoon.
Nice. I think
So
most people did this as well. We did similar as well. I mean, we took $6,000 out of that 20,000 to go to a new logo and branding and so forth. It was really good, but looking back, we felt it was actually a bit excessive, and we probably didn't need to do that. But the first time you do something like that, you just don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You learn.
Yeah. So I think on our next project, which we're probably going to start tomorrow, we're just going to kind of go down a much simpler, cheaper option, I think, as well. So no, it's good to hear that we weren't the only ones. And everyone listening, what would you spend $20,000 on, everyone, for your open source project? And then we've got some people in chat. We've got Dhruva, Suraj, Krish, and Kit. It'd be great to hear what side projects you're working on. Let us know in the chat. And also, what would you spend $20,000 on if you got the GitHub Accelerator, who give you that money to spend on your project? It'd be interesting to know. And we're going to talk about sustainability and being a project maintainer later on. But I'm quite keen to get a demo. Yeah, I think put any questions in the chat. But let's get a demo first, and then we'll chat a bit more as well.
Yeah, perfect. It will be a quick demo. I don't want to drown people in features because there are many of them. The idea of Mockoon, I mean, or the force, or the biggest selling point, or unique value proposal, like they like to call it in the VC industry. I think it's quite versatile, because you can use it during prototyping for quick, tinkering with an API, or you want to try something really fast. You have an idea, but it's also very good then for integration testing. For example, there is an API that you don't want to maintain in a QA environment, or or you are, for example, calling a client API that is not available, and you would like to mock the API during integration testing, end-to-end testing, etc. So there are a lot of use cases. It's also very good to teach APIs, and it's also very easy to use. And this is what I want to demo today. So API mocking, we also have multiple approaches. And there is the one with a GUI like that. So you have an interface and you configure your mock. And then there is also the approach from a mock service worker, for example, which is more code as mock API, or mock API as code, and you have to code something. That's two completely different approaches, and I think they have both pros and cons. I really like the user interface approach. So when you enter Mockoon's interface, you have here you will have a demo environment. I already have two of them, and one that is the sandbox that I use all the time for this kind of demos. It's basically a file on your hard drive. That's it. A JSON file that is storing all the setup. When you want to create a new API endpoint, you use the menu and you choose HTTP route, or there are some other options that I can show a bit later. But let's go with the simplest route, which is by default a get endpoint. And let's try, for example, to mock your new Repo Rater application.
Yay.
So I'm sure your whole community know this one already. Let's be honest here, it's maybe not the perfect use case for API mocking because this is publicly available, okay? When you click here on the endpoint, you immediately get the JSON. So it's not like it's not available or you have to pay for it. So it's maybe not the best use case, but we can still use it.
Maybe use the real JSON example rather than the one in the README. What do you think? The
Yes.
link that you clicked, it gives you the real data. Click that link, and use this JSON.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Rather than this one. Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
Because then it's real data for people to see. They might see their names on there.
Oh, okay. Cool. Let's say, for example, here the API is down. Okay, you are working with the Eddie's Repo Rater application API, and now it's down. And you still want to work on your application, your front end, for example. So I copied the JSON. I can put it here in the body. And let's call this leaderboard because I think that was the name of the endpoint. Press play. And because it's a get route, I can also open it in the browser directly. Okay, it's not usually how you call an API, but let's try it like that. And immediately I have the API Mockoon that is returning the same JSON. And you will say, okay, it's very simple. What's the point? Because the API is already here.
Sure.
Then you have a lot of other things that you can do.
But you could change it. You could change it, right? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And you can immediately test with, for example, what happens when there is 0 stars, and I can refresh, and the 0 is here.
Nice.
I will zoom a bit more, maybe. And it's also supporting Faker.js.
Oh, great.
Let's beautify first the JSON.
Yes, please. Thank you.
That. So, for example, I will only use one, otherwise it will take take a lot of time, but let's say I want a random number between 5 and 500 or something like that. And if I refresh here the API, you will see that here it's changing every time I press F5 or I refresh the page. And like that, you can have dynamically generated fake JSON data. And it's quite easy to test, all the scenarios that are usually not easy to test. And maybe it will be clearer or even more obvious with another API. So, okay, no, I'm not finding my brother. He's here. Let's try, for example, with Stripe. You are integrating with Stripe, and there is their famous huge JSON responses with like 1,000 properties.
Yes.
It's huge and complicated. And here you see the endpoints. You can add a new or create a new invoice, get an invoice by ID, etc. Get all the invoices. Let's try to create a very basic endpoint to get, if I can copy this without. Oh my God, it's
I
very
really,
complicated.
yeah, I really hate it when you can't simply copy something and
Yes,
it's
yes,
hard.
it's a bit complicated. Okay, so I copy pasted the root here. Let's hard code an ID because this is supported here. This will be a param. Let's show that just after. And let's copy the invoice, restart the server, and I get a Stripe invoice I can work with immediately. And what is very interesting when you are prototyping something like that is that an invoice has a life cycle in Stripe. Everything has a life cycle. The payment to, it's rejected pending, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And it's same for the invoice. It's probably created, settled, multiple. I don't even remember but for example, these kind of scenarios are sometimes hard to test because you have to,
Mm.
make them change in Stripe database, but you cannot do it just like that. You have to, make all the calls, the wall. But if you just want to prototype very quickly and say that paid is not false anymore, but true, then you just change it and you refresh and it should work. But where is this? Yeah, paid is true now. And yeah, I mean
Nice.
that's the heart of Mockoon. It's very easy to start, very easy to prototype. Then you have more possibilities. Let's say here I want to make the ID dynamic. I can use some other
Nice.
helpers, URL param. Normally it should work. I hope no demo effect. You see now the ID is 1. And if I put something else here, it's replacing but by what is in
Great.
the URL. And then just to give you a brief overview of what is possible and where also the power of Mockoon is, and you have a system of rules. So for each route, you can define multiple responses and say that, for example, if the header authorization is missing, I will return a 401, something like that. Or you can
Nice.
even randomize, no, this one, randomize and put a 500. So sometimes you will have, a 500.
Wow.
It's called chaos testing or something like that.
Okay.
And then you can proxy to an existing API. So you partially mock. Um, we also have a JSON server replacement, which are the CRUD routes. So you can, for example, just create a CRUD users route that will automatically create the post, put, patch, delete, etc. And yeah, of course, more options. And last thing I will say, and then I finish with the demo. Um, when you want to bring Mockoon somewhere else, so namely, QA environments, your CI, GitHub Actions, etc. We have also a CLI and a serverless package, a GitHub action, so you can easily launch your mock during testing. So it's headless, and of course you don't have to deploy the UI on a server, and you just use the npm package to do that. And
Nice.
yeah, that's mostly it.
No,
Hope
that's a
brief overview.
That's a great demo. Krish says they've already started, so thank you so much, Krish. And I really like it. You've got, I think, like 5.6 thousand stars on GitHub, which is
Five.
amazing, which is really good. Uh,
Where is the repository? Yeah,
yeah,
so it's
5.6
5.6.
thousand. That's awesome. And I like it that you style your own repos because I do as well. I style my own.
And
So
you need this one first
yeah.
star, you know.
Exactly. It's awful when it says zero. So yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So now this is great. I mean, let's talk a bit more about being a maintainer, I think, because there are lots of challenges. Like you said, there is time, there is feature requests coming in, bug requests coming in. You don't have a. Do you have a cloud version? Do you have to worry about hosting and stuff like that as well?
Yeah, unfortunately. Um, yeah, I'm. This has, yeah, you know, has to do with also the sustainability of this project, and
Okay.
you know, somehow guarantee that I can work or keep working on it full time, because I'm the only one full time on this for now. So yes, I'm starting to, or yeah, I'm building a SaaS that is uh, slowly, you know, coming into place. And now there is a small feature, which is an AI assistant
Cool.
that we can see here. Let's see if I'm correctly logged in. Yeah, I didn't show that during the demo, but for example, you can start from, you know, JSON templates to
I
simulate
see.
accounts, addresses. So it's even easier to start and to teach API, for example. It's very good for that.
Yeah.
And you can generate, for example, let's say a React Flow configuration. You know, you have a library that is taking a JSON config, and then it should be able to generate that. Sometimes there are some, you know, hallucinations, a comma missing, but I'm still, you know, trying to fine tune this. It's quite a challenge, you know, to generate JSON plus handlebars templating, right?
Yes. I
But yeah,
bet.
that was the first, let's say, small features. And the next one that is coming is the cloud synchronization. So you can synchronize your
Okay.
setup and share it with friends and coworkers. So solo cloud sync and also team real-time collaboration. This is also coming
That's awesome. So
soon. Yeah.
let's talk more about this. So I love it. So you're making a SaaS product to make it sustainable. I think that's great. When did you launch the kind of the paid versions?
Uh, Last June, yeah, June of
Okay,
2023.
awesome. So that's good. And it's great that you're spending more time on it. So what sort of tech stack are you using to build Mockoon?
Everything is on the Google Cloud platform,
Okay.
and it's a mix of App Engine for the API, Cloud Run. For example, there is a small tool, the API Playground, so it's a public API. So for you know, testing or quick prototyping, you don't even have to download Mokun. And this
Okay.
is using Cloud Run and Cloud Build. And then all the stats are on BigQuery and some virtual machines that will be used for the synchronization, for example. And then many other small tools. Now Cloudflare as a CDN.
Okay.
And starts
Okay.
growing a lot, so it's a bit complicated. To,
And then what technologies did you use to build the product? Are you using Node or Python or?
so the website, or people will be happy. Website is React with Next.js. So
Okay.
happy React people. I really like React too. No, people may be disappointed. The desktop application is built with Electron,
Okay.
which is I find it awesome. I really liked it.
Yeah.
It's built with Electron, which is you know, some sort of uh, let's say native layer that is embarking Chrome and Node.js. So it's like you have both ecosystems or both JavaScript environments, and it's Angular, because I
Okay.
really love Angular. And here in Luxembourg, there is a lot of Angular everywhere. All the banks are
Okay.
using Angular.
Yeah.
I'm also teaching Angular here. So
Okay.
it's the thing I knew the best, you know. And
Makes
when I started
sense.
in 17, I never tried React. So the first thing I could use was Angular, and it working well. So
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, that's good. And yeah, I mean, I've got some questions that I might ask after the live streams in terms of finances. And I don't know how confident you are talking about it publicly, but I was, again, let me know if you want to talk about it later privately. It was
yeah.
things like, how is it sustainable now? Your project is your income covering your outgoing, like your hosting and your you to make a minimum kind of sustainable salary, I suppose,
Mhm.
or not yet.
Good question. Answer is no. Definitely no.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. I'm glad it's not just me. The rest of us asking because it's not just
yeah, yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
struggling to cover hosting costs, let alone make any like
No.
money for it yet. So
So okay, the answer is like multiple. I mean, it's a bit okay. Let's answer one step at a time. I'm really fond of cheap deployment.
Mm.
I don't know how to call that except stack on a budget. And I have a repository with like nearly 12,000 stars
Wow.
that is gathering free tiers that are good enough for production applications.
Okay.
So the one that are not stopping after 1 hour, that are not
Yes.
sleeping some hours every 24 hours or something like that. So I really like to host things on the cheap.
Yep.
And for example, I don't pay yet for the API for App Engine, except when
Oh.
there is a peak traffic, because there is
Okay.
one instance that is free. Same for Cloud Run. There
Okay.
are millions of free requests every month, and it's the same at Amazon Web Services. So it's something that is available a bit everywhere. And I try to manage it like that, at least at the beginning. And for example, all the stats are in BigQuery, but BigQuery you only pay after 10 terabytes of analysis or 1 terabyte of analysis per month. But
Okay.
I'm not even at 1 gigabyte.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
I think I have like $1 of hosting every month.
Oh, amazing. Okay, my hosting
So
is like $250 per month. Maybe I
oh
need to
my god.
change.
Okay, that's huge. That's huge. Okay, we can talk about that if you want. I can help you. It depends what you do, but yeah, that's the first point. So I don't have any real expenses, and the
That's
main
great.
expense is like me working full time on this.
Okay.
That's the biggest one because I was, let's say, paid correctly before, and I quit my job after the burnout because it was a choice. This growing application of a lifetime. I have to try at least once to make it, convert it, keep it on open source and maybe make a living out of it,
Yep.
or continue working and just slowing down on Mockoon.
Mm.
And my wife was very supporting, and I chose Mockoon. Then it's a big drop, right? It's from something to zero,
Yeah.
and that's why I freelance. I'm also teaching here. Teaching is very good because I have like a training for 2 or 3 days, and then I can go back to Mokun.
Mm.
So no, it's not sustainable at all. GitHub Accelerator helped a lot last year, that's sure. But donations, it's very complicated. It's very I mean, you get $5, $10 here and there, and I got
Yep.
several $1,000s since the beginning,
Mm.
and I'm very grateful for that. It's the kind of signals that keep you motivated.
Yes, exactly. Just that kind of what, even for me, that $1 GitHub sponsors motivates me so much. As in, I just really appreciate somebody doing that. So yeah, I completely agree with you. So I think GitHub sponsors is good from a motivation perspective, but not good in terms of a financial perspective, I
Yeah,
suppose.
exactly. It's very complicated, and for people, to pay. I mean, yeah, people still need the money maybe for something else. It's very hard to ask people to pay,
Of
and
course.
I recommend that. But I tried to reach a lot of companies, and it's very hard to make them pay. There is the top of companies who are advert or marketing this, that they are contributing to open source like GitHub, etc. So it's very good, but most of the other companies are not. And I think it's just very, very, very complicated when you are in a company. And I had this discussion with many users who are really, really happy, but that they just, or they can't ask their managers, or they tried and they said, yeah, but why pay for something that is free?
Yeah.
And still, companies can pay $100,000 for a support agreement. I had that in a bank before. We were using, I think it was the graph database Neo4j, or it was
Okay.
Elasticsearch, and the bank was paying at least 100,000 for the support every year
Wow. That's
without
crazy.
using it, because we didn't have any
Yeah.
real issue. And when you say to a company, yeah, you benefit a lot from my work and this product, and you have maybe 10% using it, you love it. Would you like to do some kind of use case interview? Could you even maybe contribute? And they say, oh yeah, it's very complicated. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's very complicated. I can understand also, huh? When you,
we,
yeah.
So I was just gonna say we had the exact. It's funny. I'm laughing because I did a couple of banks in the UK as well, and a few years ago, or maybe one of the, yeah, a few years ago, and they say this the same thing. They're using all these open source products, yet they don't donate to any of them, not even like $1. Yet for a support contract that they never use, they'll pay $100,000 a year without even thinking about it. And it's just crazy. You're absolutely right. And they were paying $100,000 in multiple places. I was like, wow, just if you were to pay for one more, you wouldn't think about it. So why don't you just take that 100,000 and spread it around across those open source projects, where some are managed by one or two people doing it on the side, and that would really help them. And they're like, oh yeah, but it's free. I think it's something we need to change in companies. I think it will change because the people that are doing all the work now on the side will kind of might not always be coding. They might move into management or CEO positions or CTO positions. They might not. They might want to continue coding, and that's fine. But I think it will change. But it's going to be a slow change. So
Yeah.
for the moment, you've got all these people doing all this great work, and yet still struggling to find the time to do it because they have to do client work or day job, or they're doing it, but they're not getting paid for it and stuff. So yeah, I think it's something we need to do. And GitHub sponsors, I think, is a really nice feature, but I don't think it's the solution until the mindset changes of the companies.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we need a change of mindset, and it's evolving slowly. I think it's evolving even more, after all the scandals, can we call it like that? I don't know, but
mm.
colors.js or
What
faker.js.
what was Colors JS? I don't know that
Uh,
story.
you know, uh, I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything
Okay.
stupid, but it was one person publishing a broken version which was outputting in your console a
Oh
lot of things
yes,
about
I remember.
Aaron Schwartz didn't
Yes.
or commit suicide or something like that. And or Faker.js, I think the person wasn't able to work anymore. And there's
Yeah.
Core.js also, which is used for the how do you call that? Polyfiling or
Okay.
polyfilling. And this person also had trouble in Russia, I think.
Oh
But
yes, I saw
the,
that
the main
story.
idea is
Yeah.
that our whole industry is just standing, on the shoulder of very tiny, tiny people. And I think it's very, very, very. For example, Mockoon is not like the most important application on the planet. Definitely not. I mean, it could stop tomorrow and nobody will notice. It's still popular, but it's not like these big libraries that
Mm.
millions or even billions of build build are using, every second. But still, I suffered a small burnout in 2020.
Mm.
It was very complicated, it's still very demanding. And our work as maintainers, no, it's way better. It's okay. But I know that a lot of people are going through this. And at GitHub Accelerator, that was one topic, or to
Yeah.
keep your sanity while working for free. And it's not exactly this, because we are doing something awesome. I am also meeting awesome people like you, like the contributors from everywhere. I was talking to a contributors from New Zealand, and he was speaking a bit of French, and it's awesome open source. It's awesome. It's a
It's
door
true.
opens, to a whole world of. But still, that's what it is. The whole industry, which is a money-making industry, is
Yeah.
just standing on our shoulders. And yeah, it has to evolve a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think it's changed a lot over the last 10, 20 years, and it's going in, I think it's going in the right direction, but it's going to need another 10 or 20 years again to notice anything different, and it still won't solve it. So, yeah, it's great that there are companies like GitHub trying to help these projects. I think they open the accelerator soon. I don't think it's open just yet, applications, but it's great that they're going to be doing another year of it. I need to Google it and just check.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
quite curious if they've opened it. I don't think they've opened it just yet.
no,
Let
I
me
don't think
see.
so. Yeah, it will be soon, but
Yeah, stay tuned. Okay, early 2024. So, yes. Um, I have some questions, but before we do that, Kit, thank you so much for the question. Chris says they've started your project, which is great. Ankit says, what productivity tools do you use in your day-to-day work that you can't just work without? For me, it's GitHub. I mean, I live on GitHub. I use the project boards for planning my content, for planning our SaaS products, everything. And then obviously they got the whole standard stuff that you'll know about. Um, but that's it for me, really. And Discord. I think I live on Discord. The community give me massive amount of motivation and so forth. But what about you?
yeah, let me reshare my screen. Productivity tool. I also need a tool that is preventing me from procrastinating. That will be very, very good. I'm really bad at focusing. Sometimes I have, like streak of perfect work, and other times I just, switch on YouTube. I'm like, wow, this guy is doing carpentry. It's fantastic. I think my main or main productivity tool is GitHub. Everything GitHub. I really
Okay.
like to put all my eggs in the same basket. To avoid switching,
Yeah, me
connecting things.
too.
Yeah, and GitHub is awesome for that. I really like it, especially the project boards. So you can, for example, create a Kanban. You can also create new views with a roadmap, like a Gantt chart.
Oh, can you show us? I haven't played with the new project board
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
much. I always use the old ones. This looks
It's
great.
awesome. I transferred with everything on the new ones. So of
Wow.
course, drag dropping the
Okay.
task, and look, you can create draft tasks that are only living in the project
Got
view, let's
you.
say, or you can link to real GitHub issues across different repositories. So for me, it's perfect. I don't need anything else. And let's see how it's working.
Oh, we
Um,
see.
so it's creating a list of what is already. So it's the same data. You have
Okay.
cards, issues, and it's just a different view. And then you have to add the like start date,
Oh,
etc.
wow.
So it properly organize everything. So for me, it's not the case. Now there is no milestone, deadline, or anything like that.
Yep.
So it's not working well right now with this view, but it's perfect. And then my
That's
other
awesome.
productivity tool is a markdown file that is on my desktop, and I just note precisely what I have to do for the day on this task, etc., or IDs, etc., and that's it. Like Peter Levels, that is so powerful, like one man doing so many successful projects like Remote OK and Nomad List. And I think he has just like one text file to do list, and that's it. In the
I
past, I
think
was,
that's all you
yeah,
need. Yeah.
exactly.
I think that's all you need. I think some people trying to use too many tools or jump around between too many tools, it ends up being a negative effect, ends up being a distraction. So I
Yeah,
think
but
it's
I think it's a type of procrastination. Definitely,
yes.
it happened to me in the past. I did it on the SaaS, so I spent more time here last year to decide which technology I will use for the synchronization. Okay, it's still very complicated. It's probably one of the hardest thing I
Oh,
ever
really?
coded. Real-time collaboration. It's complicated,
Okay.
but I spent so much time and pros and cons, and then I was like, wow, why should I mean, I could just do it like that. I was like, okay, that's way simpler. Still complicated, but way simpler. I was overthinking it, and also maybe procrastinating a bit because I was afraid, really
Yeah.
starting.
That's the thing. So for our new project that we're going to start tomorrow, I'm thinking, right, what technologies do I use? And because there's a lot of technologies have a lot of overlap. So it's quite hard to decide. So yeah, I thought I just got to do it. Worst case, in 3 months, 6 months, if I need to change technologies, I change technologies. It happens. But it's better to start, I think, and then figure that out than to spend 3 months. I spent like a 1 month trying to decide, and to be honest, I could have used that month to get the first MVP out. So I might as well just start. So yeah,
But
you're
you know,
definitely
if I have
right.
advices for people when they want to start a project, I think one important thing to do is to ask yourself why. And it's also a technique, the 5 whys. You know, it's a technique that you can use in companies to try to understand why something went wrong. And you ask yourself like 5 times why. So, you know, the server was down. Why? Because this blah blah blah. Why? And then it's the DNS at the end, usually, or the
Yeah.
certificate. And I think it's very important when you are doing something to ask yourself why. Because if you, one of the biggest mistake if you want to make money, for example, is to learn a new framework. That's completely stupid, you know?
Yeah, I've been there, done that.
Exactly. I did that too. And I have friends who told me, yeah, we are near the release, and now we are rewriting everything with Rust. And I'm like, why are you rewriting just before the release? You know, don't you want to make money? But if you want to learn a new framework and take the time, you know, it's a different why you are doing it. So it's very important to analyze that a little bit. And yeah, I fail a lot of time with this kind of analysis, but I still try, you know, to avoid wasting time or avoid chasing the wrong thing. And another advice, it's you know, avoid, but it's very well known. It's avoid early optimization. You know, or early optimization
Yes.
is, I don't know, devil. Like there is a saying, and
Yes,
yeah,
it's true. You over optimize, you do it too soon,
yeah,
you
exactly.
optimize kind of the something that isn't needed. And we've all been there. I think it's like almost like a rite of passage
I guess.
in engineering. We do it and then we realize like I don't know, the one thing that I went through that I saw all my friends and colleagues go through is like design patterns. I'm talking about not visual design patterns, like architectural design patterns, adapter, MVC, or whatever it is. And I found that a lot of us, we weren't using them at the beginning stages of our career. We didn't know what they were. We figured out what they were. We learned one or two of them, and then we try to learn more, and we try to use them in every situation and do this massive abstraction. Like, I
Yeah,
want to call an API. Okay, well, let's do an adapter pattern just in case we want to call another API. And oh, but if we've got an adapter pattern, maybe we should do a factory before each adapter. And then you've got like 10 files of code just to call an API. And it's just like, wow, this is really engineered really well. But actually, it's over engineered because the chances of changing is very small, and then the impact is also very small. Actually, I remember what I did. I did a factory, adapter, and I think I did a gateway pattern. And that just gave me super flexibility that I really didn't and ever needed. Yet it was loads of time, loads of code, loads of testing, and all the rest. So, and then you kind of, I think after you get more experience, you pull it back and you go, right, let me use it when it makes sense to use it. And it takes time. That's why I think building side projects is really, really important. And just practicing and collaborating with the community. And like you said, with open source, not only do you get to meet people, but also we get to. Just thought my light behind me looks like it's flickering. I don't know, maybe not.
from here it's
But
okay. But,
it's okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, you know, meet people and you get to see their open source projects and how they do it. I love seeing like pull requests come into my project because I get to think, oh, that's a great way of doing that. I never thought about that. Or I look at other people's open source pull requests on other projects and I'm reviewing them and stuff just to give feedback. I think, oh, okay, it's not my project. This is the way they do it. You know, okay, it looks good, approve, etc. But I wouldn't do it like that on my project. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a different way of doing it, and it's just not a style that I like. But it's being aware of that other style because I'd rather make the decision not to do something because I know that I just didn't like it. I don't think it fits well in my mind, or however you want to call it, rather than not being aware of it and never being able to make that kind of, conscious decision. So yeah, it's open source, just as they say, opens doors, and it is challenging and it is hard. And I think, well, let me ask you this question, because for me it's true, but I wonder if it is the same for you. But for me, open source helps me get freelance clients and contracts and those higher paying clients. And I wonder, has it helped you, win certain clients?
Um, I mean, there is one ongoing discussion, yeah, that could land me a freelance job, so related to Mockoon. So yeah, a little bit. Not that much. I'm also not trying that hard. So
Okay,
I have my, teaching that I do here
true.
and some other small clients. For now, it has been enough. Let's see the future. But probably it's a good way. But it's also something I tried, at when I didn't have a SaaS here, to offer support, advanced support or priority support, and also help people, setting up Mockoon in
Mm,
their infrastructure. And this is the kind of gig I may land soon. I think
true.
it's good to sell this kind of services around an open source project. It makes sense. No, otherwise, freelancing not related to Mockoon, no, it didn't really
Okay.
work for me like that. But I think it's
Okay. Makes
yeah.
sense.
Just to continue on what you said before,
Mm,
it's true that open source also give you because when you are a maintainer like that, I mean, you may be multiple people, but in my case, I was alone on the application for a very long time, and having people collaborate with you. Um, it's still very demanding for people who want to collaborate. I can immediately say that collaborating to open source can be difficult. You have to dig into the code of someone else. I wouldn't want to dig into my code. Um, so it's a lot of work. But when you find or when they find awesome contributors that are also good communicators that are bringing new ideas, for me it's awesome, and it's still a bit of work because I have to follow up with them, maybe help them, and discuss, etc. But it's such a relief that you have someone that is also sticking her or his nose, in what you did, and say, yeah, yeah, I saw you did it like that, but you know that there is this way that is easier, and you're like, wow, really? And it happened to me recently or last year, one contribution from one person from Booking.com, I think, because they are starting using Mockoon. I'm very proud of
That's
them.
awesome. You got some
Yeah,
amazing clients using it. That's
yeah, yeah,
awesome.
yeah. But it's not completely public. They are doing that internally, but I think it's not a big secret because you can find them on the chat, so you can see that they are from Booking. Um, but it was something like bypassing the rules and follow up to the proxy mode or something like that. And I really thought that it was so hard to do that, or that I would need some kind of weird redirect to circumvent something. And I was like, okay, let's do that very later because I'm not sure how to do it properly. I still like to do clean things.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll also take the fastest path, which is a bit ugly, and he did it, and it was so clever and it was so obvious, and I was nearly hitting myself, why I didn't think about that. But this is what is awesome. It's like a
That's what I
team.
love. Yes, I love the different perspective
Yeah.
because it happens to me also, where we think, oh, we have sometimes so much baggage of the project that we don't see something that's really clear and obvious, and that's happened to me as well. I was like, oh, I want to code this, I need to do this. It's going to become really big, and someone's like, well, you can just use this feature. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know that feature existed. So thank you so much. And because with all the libraries and tools we use, they also have so many features.
Exactly.
And we try and stay up to date with them, but we can't. I know Chris just shared with me, 'cause we have a caching issue on Repo. We're trying to turn it off. Like Next.js has some real heavy caching, but with the real-time data we want to use on Repo, that we want it mostly off. And I'm doing it all manually on each kind of page and all the rest. And now Chris just said, oh, in the latest version, you can actually globally kind of turn it off. I'm like, wow, finally. So I need to look into that. But I wasn't aware of that until Chris mentioned it. So it is, you're right, the whole kind of community side is just so awesome. Just to give a couple more shout outs, we also have Ali from South Africa. Thank you so much for joining. Devraj as well. Pravesh, thank you all so much for joining. Really, really appreciate it. Couple last questions, and then we'll give you your Sunday back, and everyone else their Sunday back as well. Um, how many maintainers do you have on the project?
Yeah, good question.
I'm
Where is
just
the
curious to see
repository?
a
I'm
project
not
of your size.
I'm not finding the repository anymore. Let's say lifetime a bit less than no, that's an organization. Okay, let's
I
say
guess I
it's
mean
always
the
a bit
total you have
yeah.
at any one time.
Yeah, a bit less than 100 contributors because it was merged in a mono repository. So now
Okay,
there are 60 and a bit more on the
okay.
older repositories. And
But
yeah,
sorry, carry on.
yeah, and I think I have something like maybe 10 frequent contributors that are
Okay,
a
that's
bit more
good.
involved. So I think I'm really happy with that.
Yeah,
Not sure I could handle also more people. That will be maybe even more work, but I mean, any help is always welcomed.
as though, as in, who can actually hit accept on the pull request, hit
Oh yeah,
merge? Is
it's
it
me.
only you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you, okay, got you. That's something that I struggle with is to try and um, what's the word? Get maintainers that you kind of want to, because I always worry that if someone merges something and nothing's wrong with the pull request, like it's fine, but say something happens on deployments and breaks on the server, but they don't have access to the server to fix it. That's always my concern. Is it not necessarily something gets badly merged in because that's usually quite easily fixable. More something like infrastructure related that just has a knock on effect.
Exactly
Um,
true.
is
Exactly
is,
true.
is or they need to clear the cache or something like we had today. Just I couldn't seem to clear cache from Vercel. People wanted their profile picture. We cached their profile picture using like in Next.js the whole image tag, and they're like, "Well, updated my profile picture. How long does it take to become updated on BIODROP?" I was like, I don't actually know. So I was trying to look on Vercel, like how long they cached the images for. Couldn't find out. And I just thought, well, I'll just clear the cache. So hit clear the cache on Vercel. It cleared it for everybody. So therefore, it spikes everything. Everything's a bit slower to begin with and spikes all the image kind of regeneration and all the rest. But then they were all still cached. And I'm like, oh my God, so I've cleared the cache. I've seen the
Yeah.
spikes in all generation. Maybe it's local client cache. Tried to do private browsing, still was cached. And I spent like hours trying to go, what is going on? Couldn't solve it, but I've changed the quality parameter on Next.js on the image. You can put question mark like Q equals 100. And then it cleared all the cache. But I was just like, or re-got the images. And I was thinking, well, what's going on? But if that could have, if we tried to trigger also deployment to fix the cache, it still didn't work. So that's obviously nothing broken. It's not a big thing. But say it was like the opposite, and something did break, and I was asleep or whatever. Things always happen either when I'm asleep or when I'm on a plane with no internet. Like if I'm
Yeah.
asleep and I can get up and fix it, it's not so bad. If I'm on a plane and I got no internet for like a 12-hour flight, then I'm just like stuck. And that's my biggest and it's happened a couple of times. I just think, why? Like it could have happened a few hours before or later. Why always? And I think the worst is it always happens when I'm just about to board the plane and turn my phone into
Yeah.
airplane
So
mode.
you see
So
it, but you cannot do
yes,
anything. Yeah.
and I'm worrying about it the whole flight. Or we get attacked by a spam bot in Discord. I'm like, get to my phone, about to hit airplane mode. It's like spam bot hit. I'm like, come on. But we've got lots of mods in Discord to help with that. But yeah, it's always at the worst time. So okay, so you're the only person who can actually hit merge. Okay, makes
Yes.
sense.
There are also a lot of moving parts in terms
Okay,
of distribution and deployment because it's a desktop application.
I
So when I
see.
need to
Okay,
release, I'm also doing I don't see anytime soon someone else doing the releases. I have to
okay,
publish on stores, publish on
I see. Okay,
Snapcraft, Ubuntu, or and here and there, and code signing. And I'm also the only one with
right.
the code signing keys.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's a bit complicated in this regard. And
makes
also,
sense.
there are a lot of features interacting together, the proxy mode and the rules and this and that. And it's very
Okay,
easy to build a feature and forget something. And usually,
yes.
even if the contributors are really working really hard, they miss things.
Of course, we,
Um,
we I think we all
yeah.
do
And
absolutely.
even during review, sometimes it's just, I mean, and for now, I'm the only one with that kind of broad knowledge of nearly everything, and I nearly forgot nothing, nearly. But sometimes I'm like, whoa, what is this code doing? What is that? It's from 2018, you know. Yeah, so it's yeah. Now the project starts growing, so it's a bit. But you know, if one contributor stand out and
Yeah.
um, learn also all the stack and everything, I would be happy to onboard someone. Hopefully, when the SaaS is also bringing a bit of money, I would be happy to onboard someone
Yeah.
paid.
Makes
You know, that
sense.
will be my dream. My dream is to keep this thing open source first. I mean, that's
Mm.
my commitment. You know, there is this philosophy of open source. It's not just open source for, you know, to get more views, more likes, more, you know, more reach or whatever. It's also open source because it's open source. It's great, and you are
Yeah.
contributing and you are giving back. So I want this to stay like that. I don't want Mockoon to suddenly become closed source, you know, acquired by I don't know what company, which is not that open source friendly. So that's why also this, because some people say, yeah, but with the SaaS, you know, okay, it's open source, but now it's paid. What is going on? My idea
Yes.
is to offer optional things that you pay for that guarantee that the project stays on and continues as an open source independent project. That's my dream and that's my goal, and I hope that this year is the, you know, the starting point of this.
I hope so too. I mean, it sounds like you're on the right tracks, and it sounds like it's going good. So yeah, really look forward to hearing how you get on and comparing it with us as well. We're taking a slightly different approach in that we're doing more projects than just one, and I don't know which one is better or worse. I think it depends
I
on
think
the
it's
on
good
the
to do
project.
that. Yeah, you learn maybe faster also. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see. But you know, so yeah, we're trying different things, and we're going to try and do some micro SaaS products this year. Let's see how it goes, and we'll keep chatting and sharing our experiences. And I mean, we're coming up to an hour now, so I don't want to take too much of your time. Is there anything else you would like to say? Maybe you could also share how people could get started contributing to your project as well, like what technologies, what areas are you know looking for help? Have you got issues of good first issues? I don't know, anything like that.
Yeah. No, you still see my screen. Yeah. No, I'm
Yes.
guilty of not having good first issues. Definitely. You know, I'm not very good with this maintaining this list of requests. I could try that. Yeah. Um, one thing that is a bit complicated sometimes is it's an old project, so a lot of requests or features here are quite big. You know, because
Okay.
what remains here is the one that weren't quick to do or that raises a
Yes.
lot of questions UI wise,
Yeah.
or you know. But there are some small things, and I can add a tag. Yeah, I can do that. Also in open source, all help is welcome. You know, if someone want to help with um, marketing, you know, writing a tutorial, updating the documentation, or just, you know, small things, that helps a lot. I'm a developer. Okay, I was a lawyer too, so I know also many things from other fields, but still, marketing is not my thing. You know, writing content is not really. I mean, I learn, I evolved a lot, but it's complicated. So any help is welcome.
Exactly, that fresh pair of eyes. You know, going through your documentation, they might raise questions. Go, what does this mean? Or you know, it could be an acronym. It could be, you know,
Exactly.
maybe a
Yep.
step is missing because it's just an assumption that people assume every time. But someone who's new to the project or new to tech needs that more clarification. So absolutely. So that's great to hear. Anything else you'd like to add as a closing note?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you can find me and us, mostly me, depends on the time, on Discord. Where is this link? Normally there is
I've
a
just
link.
shared the
Okay,
repo link
yeah,
again in the chat as
it's on the
well.
website at the bottom. So
Okay.
you can find me on Discord. You can also discuss with the GitHub discussions here. That's good because then it acts like
Awesome.
a knowledge base. So Discord is more for the chat-like discussions. And
Yeah.
I would be happy to answer questions if you have questions about the project, or about anything about Angular, if you like, you know, observables and things like that, or if you just want to chat about open source. And yeah, and don't be afraid to contribute. Uh, Most of my contributors were very new in contributing to open source, and it worked really well recently. So don't hesitate.
That's awesome. No, that sounds great. Well, thank you so
So
much for joining us and sharing your. I still see you and hear you. Maybe the internet went a bit. Well, I was going to end it here now, but I want to stay on the call with you and chat to you afterwards, Guillaume, to thank you personally. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. I really did as well. And I look forward to seeing you in the EddieHub Discord. I will see you there. Thanks, everyone.